Hello everyone, welcome back to Talking History. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you all keeping well. My name's Liz and on this channel, you know exactly what I do. So last week I did a video on the illegitimate children of King Henry I of England, and this week I would like to continue that with one of Henry's illegitimate daughters, Juliana. Now, as I said last week, Juliana has her own brilliant story to tell, and she is the only one who's recorded anyway, to have ever tried to kill her own father. And if you want to know why, then keep on watching. Henry I holds the record of fathering the most illegitimate children with an impressive number of at least 22 that were recorded. There could have been more. And one of his eldest illegitimate children was his daughter, Juliana. Now, Juliana, as history likes to tell it, is the only child of his to have ever tried to kill her own father in 1119. So Juliana was born around the early 1090s, and she was possibly the third eldest. And Juliana's mother was possibly Ansfried, and it's believed that her brother Richard of Lincoln was also Ansfried with Henry before Henry became king. So shortly after the succession to the throne of England in 1101, Juliana had married Eustace de Pacy, the illegitimate son of William of breteuil. I think I pronounced that right. I probably haven't. Apologies, and I apologise even more if you are from France. I'm very sorry. So breteuil was an important and heavily fortified lordship within Normandy, and that it was a place that Henry was very eager to gain control of. So William's death, it sparked conflict over the inheritance with the relatives, and it also began to involve the neighbouring lords and magnates, and basically everyone was getting involved. And it was stated that William's preferred successor was his nephew, William de Gaulle, who was the son of his favourite sister, Emma. After that, it would have gone to Ralph de Gaulle, who was the Earl of East Anglia, but that was quickly opposed by another nephew, Reynold de Grancy, who was from Burgundy. But Eustace had quickly seized and fortified his father's castles on his father's death, and he just basically downright refused to relinquish any of them. Eustace was able to do this because, unlike his legitimate cousins, he was quite established within the aristocratic networks of breteuil. Now, Eustace had won over his father's most powerful lords, and he also had the support of his father-in-law, Henry, who was the King of England. Now, despite Eustace being illegitimate, he had all of the support. So Juliana's marriage to Eustace, it created a powerful link, and with Henry's support, it helped put an end to any more competing claims, securing Eustace's position. Now, Henry, he didn't support Eustace just because he was his son-in-law. He had his own advantages. So he placed his own garrison, which is kind of like a guard, at Ivory Castle. Now this helped place Henry further in the area that he was keen to take control of. So Juliana's marriage wasn't the only carefully arranged marriage of Henry's illegitimate children. Henry had arranged for Juliana's half-sister Matilda to marry Count Rotrou of Perche. Now, Rotrou was a relative and a rival of Robert of Bellamy. Now, Bellamy, he was an important player within the Anglo-Norman resistance to Henry's claims in both England and Normandy. And Matilda, she had valuable lands in Wiltshire and Wanborough to bring to the marriage, which was a further incentive for Rotrou to form an alliance with Henry. So Henry didn't stop there with the strategic marriage arrangements of his daughters. Sometime around the early 1100s, he had arranged for another illegitimate daughter, Mabel, to marry William Garrett the third even of Montmoral, who was another enemy of Robert of Bellamy's. Now, Robert at this point, he was fomenting a rebellion in southern Normandy, being aided by the ambitious Count Fulk of Anjou. So Henry, now having an alliance with a powerful and well-connected lord within that region, was a pretty sensible play on Henry's part. And it helped Henry to retain and expand his authority within Anglo-Normandy. But Henry's most prestigious marriage arrangement was that of his illegitimate daughter Sybil to King Alexander I of Scotland. So Henry was married to Alexander's sister Matilda of Scotland, and having Sybil marry Alexander, it may have been Henry's intention to further strengthen the ties between the two monarchs, strengthen the ties between England and Scotland. But enough of Henry for now. Let's move him to one side. Let's get back to Juliana. That's what this video is all about. Juliana had supported both her husband and her father until 1119, when a conflict over the ownership of the border of the castle of Ivory, which Henry was very reluctant to part with, and Eustace, he was feuding with Henry's garrison at the castle. So over a course of a decade, Eustace made several requests to Henry to release the castle to him. And as a result of negotiations, Henry had persuaded his garrison, which was named Ralph, not Rich, to give his son to Juliana and Eustace as a hostage in 1118. Now, for unknown reasons, Eustace had the boy blinded, and the attack on the king's garrison was seen as an attack on the king himself and a direct challenge to his royal authority. Now, that was something that Henry was not willing to overlook. Henry clearly wasn't looking to be father or grandfather of the year. He had Juliana's two daughters handed over to Ralph, his garrison, for similar mutilation. Now, the harshness of Henry's treatment to his own granddaughters clearly shows the breakdown of the royal family. It does seem likely that the girls were handed over to Henry as part of an exchange as hostages, as there's no other records of any further grandchildren from Henry's other children being placed within his care. But this could have been the reason why no other children was placed in his care. So Eustace, who was outraged, he went into full open rebellion. He had his holdings fortified and he called on his allies. Now, Eustace, who clearly trusted his wife Juliana and he had confidence in her, he left her in charge of his principal castle. And as a result of the personal nature of the family connection to the rebels, Henry had intervened personally within the matter. So Henry travelled to breteuil, where he negotiated with Juliana directly. Now, Juliana, who was full of rage for the brutality her father inflicted on her daughters, she fired a crossbow directly at her father. Now, she missed, but she did just try to kill the King of England. So Juliana's assassination attempt had failed and the castle was now coming under siege. So Juliana was forced to sneak out by being lowered down from the top of the castle walls and swimming across the moat. So Henry, he quickly crushed the rebellion, and it's unknown if Henry had ordered any punishment towards his daughter and son-in-law, but the couple, they were later reconciled with Henry through the intervention of Juliana's brother Richard of Lincoln. Now Richard had succeeded in depleting the king's anger, as Henry was not one to forgive easily. And the majority of the breteuil lands were given to Eustace's cousin Ralph de Gaulle, who was the Earl of East Anglia. Now Eustace, he had kept the lordship of Pacy, and the couple were also somewhat compensated for their loss, as Henry had granted a yearly payout of 300 silver marks. Eustace died in 1136, and after his death, Juliana became a nun at Fontevraud Abbey. And there is Juliana's story. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of Juliana. I think there's some pretty, really... Have you noticed that all the way through history, and I'm not saying this just because I'm a woman, I'm not being sexist, nothing like that, but have you noticed it's always women? Always. And all the way throughout history, women are not recorded properly about, because, what's women's got to say? They ain't got nothing special to say. Their job is just to produce all the heirs. That's all you got to do. And it's always them. And who, as in that time, has got the most amazing story to tell was Juliana's legitimate sister, Empress Matilda. I'm just saying. So make of it as you will. But it is a shame there's not enough information recorded, because, like I say, unfortunately at the time women weren't seen in that part, in that role. They wasn't seen as important, really. And it takes, clearly Eustace had so much trust and confidence in his wife, and I think that's why he left her in charge. And fair play to the girl for firing a crossbow at her dad. So fair play. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. I have many more like this to come, and if you are enjoying it, please do like and subscribe and share and all that good stuff, because you are all amazing. And thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I will be back soon with another video. In the meantime, look after yourselves, and I'll see you all soon. Take care.